Have you ever found yourself spiraling into a negative thought pattern, thinking the worst possible outcome, or seeing the world in black and white? You're not alone. Our minds often play tricks on us, leading us into a maze of cognitive distortions, patterns of thinking that are irrational, yet incredibly powerful. But what if you could recognize these distortions, challenge them, and reshape your reality? Today, we'll explore how our minds deceive us with cognitive distortions like overgeneralization, catastrophizing, and black and white thinking. We'll look at how these patterns influence our lives, dive into their roots with insights from renowned philosophers, and discover practical ways to break free. Understanding cognitive distortions. Cognitive distortions are biased ways of thinking that we often develop over time, usually as a response to stress, trauma, or habit. They're mental filters that twist reality, making us see the world not as it is, but as our fears and insecurities want us to see it. Let's start with overgeneralization. This occurs when we take one negative event and believe it's part of an endless pattern of failure or disappointment. Imagine you fail a test or miss a deadline at work. Suddenly, your mind convinces you that you're doomed to fail in every aspect of your life. But this isn't just your mind playing tricks. It's a distortion of reality. Overgeneralization traps you in a cycle of negativity, where one setback becomes a defining feature of your entire existence. Now let's talk about catastrophizing. This distortion is like seeing a small problem and turning it into a massive disaster in your mind. You anticipate the worst-case scenario, no matter how unlikely it is. For instance, if you feel a slight discomfort in your chest, your mind might jump to the conclusion that you're having a heart attack. This kind of thinking doesn't just cause unnecessary anxiety, it also stops us from acting rationally. Catastrophizing leads to inaction as we become overwhelmed by the worst-case scenario we've imagined. Finally, there's black and white thinking, seeing things in extremes with no middle ground. In this distortion, you're either a total success or a complete failure. People are either for you or against you. This rigid way of thinking leaves no room for the complexities of life and often results in intense emotional swings. But why do we fall into these traps? Cognitive distortions are rooted in deeper psychological patterns, often reinforced by our environment, past experiences, and even societal norms. The good news? These patterns can be changed. Philosophical insights on cognitive distortions. These cognitive distortions aren't new concepts. Throughout history, philosophers have examined the nature of thought, perception, and reality, offering insights that can help us understand and combat these mental traps. Let's start with Epictetus, the Stoic philosopher, who famously said, "It's not what happens to you, but how you react to it that matters." Epictetus emphasized that our thoughts and beliefs about events, rather than the events themselves, determine our emotional responses. When we catastrophize or overgeneralize, we're essentially choosing to react to our fears, not to the reality in front of us. Moving forward, Immanuel Kant explored the idea of categories of understanding, the mental frameworks through which we perceive the world. According to Kant, our minds impose these structures on our experiences, which sometimes leads to distorted interpretations of reality. When we engage in black and white thinking, we are, in a sense, narrowing these categories, oversimplifying a complex world into something our minds can more easily manage. Lastly, Albert Ellis, the father of rational emotive behavior therapy, REBT, directly addressed cognitive distortions. He argued that irrational beliefs and thoughts are the root of emotional distress. Ellis believed that by challenging these irrational thoughts, we could alter our emotional responses and behavior. Ellis's work forms the foundation of cognitive behavioral therapy, CBT, which remains one of the most effective methods for combating cognitive distortions today. But how do we begin to challenge and change these deeply ingrained patterns of thought? Recognizing and counteracting cognitive distortions. First step in overcoming cognitive distortions is recognition. Start by identifying when you're engaging in distorted thinking. Ask yourself, am I seeing this situation clearly? Am I blowing things out of proportion? Being mindful of your thoughts can help you catch these distortions in action. Once you've identified a distortion, the next step is to challenge it. Let's say you're catastrophizing about a presentation at work. Instead of letting your mind run wild, pause and ask, what's the worst that could realistically happen? And how likely is it? This simple exercise can help put your fears into perspective. By challenging the worst-case scenario, you force your mind to step back from the brink of catastrophe. This process is known as cognitive restructuring. It's a way of reprogramming your thought patterns to be more balanced and realistic. Another powerful tool is journaling. Writing down your thoughts helps you to see them more clearly. When you document your cognitive distortions, you create an opportunity to step outside of your immediate emotional response and evaluate your thoughts objectively. Ask yourself, what evidence do I have for this thought? What would I say to a friend in the same situation? How can I see this in a more balanced way? Mindfulness is another effective technique. By practicing mindfulness, you can observe your thoughts without judgment. This helps you to recognize cognitive distortions as they arise, without getting caught up in them. Instead of letting your thoughts dictate your reality, you become a passive observer, acknowledging your thoughts, and then letting them pass by like clouds in the sky. Cognitive behavioral therapy, CBT, exercises are also beneficial. These can include worksheets, apps, or even professional therapy sessions designed to help you break down and challenge distorted thoughts. The goal is to replace irrational negative thoughts with more realistic and positive ones, thereby improving your emotional well-being. Don't forget the power of social support. Talking about your thoughts with others, whether through a support group, with a therapist, or even with friends, can provide new perspectives. Sometimes just hearing someone else's take on your situation can help you realize when you're caught in a cognitive distortion. The long-term benefits of challenging cognitive distortions. So, what happens when you consistently challenge and change your cognitive distortions? Over time, you'll find that your thinking becomes more flexible and less biased. You'll react to situations with greater calm and clarity, and your emotional responses will become more balanced. This doesn't just improve your mental health. It can positively impact every area of your life, from your relationships to your career, to your overall sense of well-being. By taking control of your thoughts, you're taking control of your life. Remember, cognitive distortions may be powerful, but they're not invincible. With awareness, effort, and the right tools, you can break free from these mental traps and start living a life guided by clarity and reason. Thank you for joining us on this journey through the mind. If you found this video insightful, make sure to like, share, and subscribe for more content that challenges the way you think. And remember, the path to a clear mind starts with a single thought.